Our story begins in a hospital where our protagonist, Shen Qing, lies unconscious. Suddenly, the petal of a dead flower falls and brushes against his face, causing him to wake up. He immediately sits up, removes the oxygen mask, and takes a moment to catch his breath. He then asks where he is and whether he has been reborn. As a memory resurfaces, he quickly grabs the blanket covering his lower body. When he pulls it off, he is shocked to discover that both of his legs are gone. He curses in frustration and wonders what time it is. At that moment, a young woman enters the room, calling him brother. His little sister, tears streaming down her face, rushes to embrace him, exclaiming how wonderful it is that he's finally awake. She then vows to catch the hit-and-run driver who caused his accident, assuring him that his legs will be cured. He comforts his sister, confirming that everything happened 1 year ago. 1 year ago, a car accident transformed him from the youngest billionaire in the country, the chairman of Rising Sun International Group, into a cripple. While he was focused on treatment, his most trusted friend, whom he considered a brother, Xiao Tiankai, seized the opportunity to take control of Rising Sun International Group. Tiankai even threatened Shen Qing's health, forcing his sister into a marriage arrangement to secure continued treatment for him. Tiankai promised her that as long as she married him, he would guarantee Shen Qing's future. Shen Qing, furious, shouted for Tiankai to let her go, but Tiankai mockingly asked him what he was barking about. He then forcibly kissed Shen Qing's sister, making her cry and beg for her brother to save her. Everything was taken from Shen Qing by that despicable Xiao Tiankai. Later, a game called Divine Path emerged, developed collaboratively by multiple countries. It offered 100% realism, and in-game currency could be exchanged for real money, causing it to become a global sensation. Its most critical feature was that character attributes in the game could affect reality. This game should have been Shen Qing's best chance to change his fate, but at the time, he was penniless. Without money to spend, he couldn't acquire good resources, leaving him trapped in mediocrity. Tiankai, using the wealth that once belonged to Shen Qing, spent lavishly in the game, acquiring the best resources and attributes which elevated his power in reality to an unrivaled level. Shen Qing knew that all of it should have been his, it rightfully belonged to him. Sometime later, Tiankai met with Shen Qing and mocked him, asking if he had summoned him just to make him laugh at his broken doghouse. Tiankai taunted Shen Qing, asking if he really thought a room full of explosives could kill him. Shen Qing whispered that they should try it, and then shouting, declared that they would die together. He detonated the bomb, causing the entire building to explode. Lying on the ground without arms or legs, Shen Qing was shocked to hear Tiankai's voice. Tiankai, completely unharmed, asked why Shen Qing had even bothered. As Tiankai approached, he explained that with the power he had gained in Divine Path, even explosives couldn't singe a hair on him. Tiankai then stepped on Shen Qing's head, saying, before he die, he will tell him one more thing. He revealed that he had been behind Shen Qing's accident, the loss of his legs, and even the deaths of his parents. To add insult to injury, Tiankai laughed, telling Shen Qing that the last bloodline of the Shen family would bear his surname. Overwhelmed with rage and despair, Shen Qing cried out, but Tiankai ended his life by crushing his head. Now, as Shen Qing reflects, he doesn't know why he has been reborn, but he understands that it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He tells his sister to stop crying, assuring her that he is fine and teasing that if she continues, he'll laugh at her. Shen Qing then swears that this time, he will protect his sister and the legacy of their parents. He also vows to tear that beast, Xiao Tiankai, to pieces. However, he is painfully aware that his disability is a fact, and he wonders how he can turn things around. Suddenly, he remembers that Divine Path is just about to launch. People won't realize its ability to affect reality for another month, making this his best chance to change his fate before his assets are frozen. Shen Qing frowns as he contemplates his next move, causing his sister to ask if his legs are in pain. She offers to call the doctor, but he stops her, explaining that there is something urgent she must do for him. When she asks what it is, he tells her to buy a Divine Path gaming pod. Confused, she asks what he means by a gaming pod. At that moment, Tiankai enters the room, sarcastically asking when Shen Qing developed such a fondness for gaming, and what would happen to the company if he got addicted. Shen Qing was furious, realizing that Tiankai was already testing him. He asked Tian Kai what else he could do besides play games, now that he was just a cripple. Tian Kai smiled at his response and said he had heard that Divine Path was being released today and that the gaming pods were limited to 100 units. He added that the price had already risen to 300 million, and Shen King would probably have to pay extra to get one. Shen King retorted, asking if Tian Kai still controlled the company's funds, and said that even if the price was 30 billion, he would get one. His little sister pleaded with him not to act so rashly, but Tian Kai innocently assured them not to worry, promising to get it for Shen King. In truth, Tian Kai thought it would be easier to take over the company if Shen King was distracted by the game. Tian Kai told Shen King to enjoy the game first, saying that he would have the gaming pod delivered soon, and that Shen King didn't need to worry about the company or his sister as he had everything under control. As Tian Kai reached for his little sister, Shen King grabbed his little sister Tong and said that she'll stay with him tonight because he wanted to spend more time with her. He glared at Tian Kai, vowing that Tian Kai would never touch his sister with his filthy hands, not over his dead body. Tian Kai agreed immediately and left the room. Outside, Tian Kai furiously called the driver who hit Shen King, calling him a useless killer. Tian Kai angrily asked how the driver failed to kill Shen King in the accident, then muttered to himself that next time he would use a tanker truck to make sure the job was done. Inside the room, Shen King told Tong to transfer all of his money into the game, confusing her. She asked why, but he just told her not to ask questions and ordered her to sell all the company's stocks. Worried, she asked if he was sick, but he replied he wasn't sick, he just needed to bet big. 3 hours later, Shen King was inside the gaming pod, which had cost him 500 million. He declared to Divine Path that he was coming, then activated the system and entered the gaming world. He landed safely in the realm and was exhilarated to finally move freely, noting how real his legs felt. The system prompted him to name his character, and he chose Kaoju Wang, meaning Morning Wine Elegy. The class selection screen appeared, offering the usual choices: warrior, mage, ranger, assassin, priest, knight, and summoner. He decided to choose the same class as in his previous life, the one he was most familiar with. After submitting his choice, the system confirmed that he had chosen the ranger class and changed his outfit to match. He was relieved to see that everything was the same as last time. Then, the system revealed that, as a VIP user of the gaming pod, he had triggered a special reward, the Elf Bloodline, an epic level reward. This bestowed him with the title of Born Ranger and granted him favor from the elves, providing a 10% increase in accuracy, critical rate, evasion, and a 15% boost in movement speed. The system also showed that, as a VIP user, he had triggered another reward, a special skill book called Weakness Detection, a legacy skill that identifies the weak points of targets. Attacking weak points would deal 150% to 200% damage and consume 20 mana, with a 120-second cooldown. Shen King recognized this as the same skill he had mastered in his previous life. Then, the system notified him that, as one of the first 100 global VIP users to purchase the gaming pod, he had received a special exclusive treasure chest. A treasure chest appeared in front of him, which surprised him because it hadn't been there in his previous life. Reaching for it, he knew that the most important talent ability must be inside. The chest informed him that it contained a rare talent ability, but to unlock it, he needed to recharge 50 million gold coins. The cost? 500 million RMB. Shen King paused for a moment, then confidently recharged the amount, knowing that if he didn't spend the money now, Tian Kai would take everything later. He understood that talent abilities were random attributes every new player could acquire, and that the earlier a player entered the game, the rarer the talent ability they would obtain. He recalled that in his previous life, he had received an additional bleeding damage effect, which had been a great asset in countless battles. The system confirmed that 500 million gold coins had been recharged. Shen King braced himself, thinking that this time, since he was spending big, he must get something even better. He clicked yes, and the treasure chest opened, releasing a blinding light. Staring in disbelief, he asked if the system was joking. He couldn't believe what he was seeing, the evolved everything talent. He was stunned to discover that such a talent even existed. Shen King stared at the divine skill, evolve everything, knowing it wasn't something that could be easily obtained with just 50 million gold coins. He opened its skill details, and the system showed him its abilities. The passive evolution had a 100% chance to upgrade a dropped item by 1 rank, with a 5% chance to trigger an intermediate evolution, upgrading the item by 2 ranks. It also noted that evolution could surpass the highest current item rank. The autonomous evolution had a 100% chance to upgrade any item, tool, skill, or gem by 2 levels, with a 10% chance to upgrade by 3 levels, and had a 24-hour cooldown. A keynote was that the effect couldn't stack with the passive, and the same effect could only evolve once. He was amazed as he read through the details, smiling as he realized he had hit the jackpot. He activated the skill, and it wrapped around his arm, a golden light appearing as he shouted in excitement. He exclaimed, "That is excellent," knowing this ability was game-changing. While others were still dropping bronze and silver items, he would be dropping at least silver, gold, or even higher items. He confirmed to himself that his 500 million was well worth it. With this power, he could trample everyone beneath his feet. He decided to enter the game shortly to casually kill some monsters, wanting to test the power of evolve everything with the dropped items. However, he remembered the 24-hour cooldown and realized that the first evolution was crucial. He thought it through, knowing he needed to find something with potential to evolve. After considering his options, he stored the item and made preparations. When he was ready, he opened the system window and clicked the center of it. The game entrance appeared before him, and he walked toward it, thinking that it was time to change his fate as he stepped through the gate. He entered the beginner's village and saw crowds of people there. He had expected to be one of the first, but it seemed there were quite a few rich folks in this world too. Just then, he noticed 2 men chasing a chicken, shouting at it not to run and to hand over its experience points. The onlookers were shocked, asking if killing chickens gave experience. Soon, almost everyone in the village was chasing the poor chicken, trying to get experience points. Shen King stood speechless for a moment, then sighed and thought, "Is that all they've got?" Deciding it wasn't worth mocking them, he walked in the other direction, determined to seize every second for his first goal, defeating the newbie's own boss and earning the first kill reward. As he walked away, he could hear the other players amazed that the chicken had even dropped chicken meat. After several minutes of walking, Shen King found himself in the middle of a forest. The system warned him to be careful as he entered a wild monster area ahead, but he dismissed the notification. He knew it was dangerous, but he had to kill monsters quickly to level up and secure the first kill on the boss, which would grant him extra rewards that couldn't be stolen by others. Yet, he knew that preparation was still necessary. Opening his inventory, he looked at the newbie bow and cloth armor with disdain. He knew these items had no evolutionary value, but if he didn't evolve something, it would be impossible to differentiate himself from others. Since the evolution ability could only be used once a day, not using it felt like a waste. He pondered what might have more potential to evolve. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He retrieved his evolve everything item and decided to evolve his elf bloodline. The bloodline emerged from his body and its silver crown and armor disappeared, transforming into a golden crown and armor. The system then revealed the evolved bloodline of the Elf King. Its effects were staggering. Strength empowerment boosted hit rate, critical strike, attack speed, and evasion by 50%, while movement speed was increased by 100%. Life Force increased his maximum health by 1,000 points, with an additional 100 points per level up. Lastly, the Life Arrow ability guaranteed that every third attack would be a critical hit. Shen King was amazed after reading the details of the evolved bloodline. He couldn't believe it had actually worked. With those attributes, solo grinding monsters in the newbie zone wouldn't be a problem. Suddenly, a loud howl echoed from the other side of the forest, making him wonder if it was a wolf. Meanwhile, on the other side, a level 2 forest wolf was facing a group of players. One man teased the wolf, asking if it thought it was fast, and said that as long as they killed it, they could level up. Another man added that the wolf should just obediently die. Unaware that Shen King was hiding behind a tree, watching, he noticed that these players were smart enough to form teams to kill monsters during the beginner phase, which increased their safety even though it reduced experience and item drops. However, their outdoor survival skills were lacking. Wolves were pack animals. The team's mage suddenly noticed something behind her and anxiously called out to her team, warning that they were surrounded. The wolves rushed in to attack. The archer screamed that even though he wouldn't die for real, the pain feedback was too realistic. The mage, being chased by the wolves, begged for help, but their tank sighed in despair, telling them he'd see them at the respawn point as he was bitten by the wolves. Within minutes, the entire team was dead. Once they were gone, Shen King took out his bow, muttering, "The mantis stalks the cicada," unaware of the oriole behind. He aimed carefully at the level 2 forest wolf, and when the timing was right, he released the arrow, striking the wolf in the head. The system notified him that he had killed the level 2 wolf, upgrading his Elf King bloodline. He gained an additional 100 life points, 10 magic points, 5 free attribute points, and leveled up to 2. He also obtained an item, wolf meat. The passive evolution turned it into advanced wolf meat, which granted continuous health regeneration. He picked it up, knowing that healing items would be essential for solo grinding. But then the rest of the wolf pack noticed him and growled furiously, startled. He quickly put his bow back into his inventory. He had tested enough damage for now and wanted to try something else. Activating the Elf King bloodline's passive ability, which provided a 100% speed increase, he dashed away at top speed. Moments later, he was sprinting and jumping over a cliff, amazed by how fast the bloodline made him. Just as fast as the wild wolves, even without additional equipment. He realized that for an archer, speed was crucial, and without his divine talent, growing strong would have been far more difficult. Peeking back, he teasingly asked the wolves if they couldn't catch him. But then he was shocked. They had stopped chasing him. He came to a halt and wondered why they had stopped, noticing that the wolves, though angry, were trembling in fear. The system showed him that he had entered the buffalo zone, a higher level area. The wolves, now intimidated, turned around and walked away. If he remembered correctly, the buffalo zone contained level 5 monsters. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Hey, handsome!" He turned to see a woman with 2 men. The woman asked if he'd like to join their team. She explained that they were planning to hunt buffalo monsters and that they were likely the first to reach the area since the server had opened. However, a green-haired man in the group interrupted, saying that not just anyone could join them, pointing out that Shen King was only level 2 and would hold them back by sharing their experience. Shen King stared at them silently, then turned to leave, telling them they should keep grinding while he went elsewhere. The blue-haired man asked if he was out of his mind, but Shen King replied that grinding wild cattle was too inefficient. Besides, he preferred being a lone wolf. The blue-haired man warned him that the next area was even more dangerous and that no one had been there yet. It was risky even for them. The green-haired man then asked Shen King if he understood the penalty for dying. Shen King calmly replied that he didn't, since he was a low-level noob who hadn't died yet. He mockingly called the green-haired man old man and asked if he cared to explain it to him. The blue-haired man answered that upon dying, you lose all your gold, your equipment takes damage, and though it was just a game, the pain and despair of dying felt very real. Worse, half of your hard-earned experience points were cut. Shen King simply thanked him for the heads up and walked away, saying goodbye to the 2 pros with a calm demeanor. The woman suggested they bring Shen King along, as it was too dangerous for him to be alone. However, the green-haired man replied that they shouldn't bother, and if that idiot wants to die, they should let him. No need to stop him. A few moments later, Shen King arrived at the next area. He saw human skulls scattered across the ground, staring at one. He tossed it onto a pile of bones, knowing this was the domain of the biggest boss in the newbie zone. He smiled to himself, guessing that today might be the day he would die. The skull Shen King threw hit something resting beneath the pile, waking it from a deep sleep. A massive body stirred, scattering the skulls as a giant snake emerged in front of him. He activated his weakness detection skill to expose its weak point, and the system identified it as the Giant Snake King, a level 10 boss. Its weakness was located at the back of its neck, despite being only level 2, with around 210 health points. Thanks to the extra 1,000 health provided by the Elf King's bloodline, Shen King's health bar was now longer than the boss's. Confident, he drew his bow and aimed, knowing there was no need for fear. The giant snake, shocked by his action, lunged at him with its mouth wide open, trying to swallow him whole. Shen King activated his speed boost, thinking that at this pace, it would be hard for the snake to land a hit. He easily dodged the attack and released an arrow toward the snake's neck, reducing its health by 29 points. However, he was frustrated by his low attack power. It was still a tough fight. The snake swung its tail at him, but his speed was fast enough to dodge the attack. Jumping at full speed, he shot another arrow at its neck, thinking he could kite the slow-moving monster to death. But before the arrow could land, the snake's body blocked the shot. He was annoyed to see that it was defending its weak point. Undeterred, he fired several arrows in quick succession, his boosted attack speed from the Elf King's bloodline making him faster. He taunted the boss, saying they should see whose speed prevails, his tail or his arrows. The first 2 arrows bounced off, but the third hit the snake's weak point, reducing its health by 58 points. Shen King teased, saying seems like he can't block every shot, and his arrows are just a bit faster. However, he was stunned when the snake released smoke from its mouth. It was poison. The system alerted him that he was poisoned, losing 10 health points per second. At that rate, Shen King calculated he had less than 2.5 minutes before his health ran out. Meanwhile, the giant snake began to climb higher, trying to increase the distance between them. Shen King realized that the snake was attempting to lower his hit rate and wear him down with the poison. Furious, he aimed his arrow at the snake and said, "You really underestimate me." He unleashed a powerful shot, hitting the weak point again, and the system showed that the snake lost 116 health points. It let out a painful scream and fell to the ground as the arrow of life activated, scoring a critical hit on every third attack. Walking closer to the snake, Shen King mocked it, asks if it's sweating now and it can't handle many more hits. The snake, still in pain, stood up again, with 597 health points left. His own health continued to drop by 10 points each second, but he was confident. He muttered, saying 2 minutes is more than enough to finish it off. A minute later, with his health slowly decreasing, Shen King stumbled against a wall, his health down to 999 points. He wondered if the giant snake had gone crazy as it launched another attack at him. He dodged just in time, knowing that after realizing the strength of his critical hits, the snake had begun using its tail in a barrage of attacks like a map-wide assault. He wondered if does it really think that'll stop him. He landed near the snake's tail, only for it to launch another attack. He leaped into the air, rolling mid-jump, while aiming his arrow at the snake. "You're overestimating your speed," he taunted, releasing an arrow that struck the snake's belly, critically hitting it for 200 damage, leaving it with just 370 health points. Shen King was amazed at the higher damage output and wondered if it was because the snake's belly was softer, despite the back of its neck being the weak point. The scales on the neck provided more protection, but the exposed belly allowed for faster damage. He prepared to finish the fight by aiming at its belly again. However, he was surprised to see the snake teasingly staring at him, almost as if it were laughing. It attacked again with its tail, but he easily dodged the strike. Then, the ground around him began to crack. Shen King was stunned. The ground beneath him suddenly collapsed, and though he tried to jump away, he fell into the hole. Thankfully, he managed to land safely. The giant snake loomed above him, and Shen King realized that its tail attack was not just meant to hinder him but to create a collapse. Confused, he watched the snake's next move. Suddenly, more smoke began to fill the area, and the system alerted him again. Poison damage, 20 health points per second. His current health was 600. Shen King knew that 20 health points per second was a death sentence for beginners. The giant snake was using its attacks to create deeper collapses, trapping him in pits while the poison weakened him further. He also realized that his jump height wasn't enough to escape, meaning even with double health, the poison could still kill him if he didn't act quickly. Shen King took out the wolf meat, laughing to himself, knowing the beginner area boss would have some tricks. Eager to see what the giant snake would drop, he ate the meat. The system notified him that the wolf meat had been consumed, restoring 20 health per second and increasing his speed by 10% for 20 seconds. Although the meat didn't cure the poison, it effectively countered the health reduction. Positioning his foot and body carefully, Shen King knew the battle's outcome would be decided during the next 20 seconds of increased speed. He leapt toward the wall, running at full speed to reach the top. While the giant snake was busy releasing poisonous smoke, Shen King appeared in front of it. Aiming his bow, smiling, he greeted the snake and released his arrow, striking it directly in the eye. The snake screamed in pain and tried to crawl away at high speed. Shen King quickly fired another arrow, hitting the snake's side. The arrow pierced through its skin, making the snake furious. It turned to face him, but its eyes widened in shock as it seemed to see the King of Elves standing behind Shen King. Without hesitating, Shen King activated his Arrow of Life skill. The arrow hit the one already embedded in the snake's side, splitting it in half as the new arrow pierced through the snake's mouth. The system notified him that the hit dealt 200 damage, finally killing the giant snake. Landing on the ground, Shen King watched as the system showed him that the poison status had been removed upon victory. The system congratulated him on being the first player to kill the boss and achieve the server's first kill, earning him a spot on the glory board. His accomplishment would be announced across the server 3 times, and the system asked if he wanted to hide his ID. After a moment of reflection, Shen King decided it was time to stop hiding. He replied with a resounding no, and the system revealed his ID, Kogubu, congratulating him for being the first to kill the giant snake king. Players across the server were frustrated upon seeing the announcement. Many had only just begun playing, while others complained to each other for being too slow. It was hard for them to believe that a level 3 player had soloed a boss. Meanwhile, in the Buffalo Zone, the blue-haired player caught his breath and remarked to his team that they had finally defeated their own boss, feeling certain based on its strength. The green-haired player agreed, wondering aloud what their first kill rewards would be. The 2 men laughed together, expecting high-value equipment and imagining praise from their female teammate. However, their celebration was abruptly cut short when the system announced that Kogubu had successfully killed the giant snake king, earning 1,000 reputation points and a silver chest. Both men were left in shock, furiously questioning how someone could be stronger than them and who Kogubu was. Back in the boss zone, the system congratulated Shen King again for defeating a higher-level boss. He earned 1.5 times the experience points, instantly leveling up from 2 to 7. Shen King confirmed that the risk had been worth it, smiling as he saw that he had jumped 5 levels. The system then revealed his unassigned attribute points, 30 in total, and he immediately allocated all of them to agility. His updated stats reflected significant boosts. His attack power rose to 65, agility to 39, and his overall speed and evasion had greatly improved. Noticing that his health now exceeded that of most warriors, Shen King realized he was essentially a tank. Turning toward the dissolving corpse of the giant snake, he eagerly awaited the loot. Suddenly, his Evolve Everything skill activated, and the system notified him that his 10 silver coins had automatically evolved into 10 gold coins. Shen King couldn't believe his luck. Having 10 gold coins in the beginner area at the start of the server was akin to being a tycoon, yet his skill continued to glow. Confused, Shen King wondered if a second evolution had been triggered. He raised his arm, knowing that something great was coming. Excitement coursed through him as he prepared to discover what treasure would come next.